Good morning! I'm still dealing with a little bit of like groggy morning voice, but I want to make breakfast great again. I want to make breakfast exciting again. And the whole thing, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, kind of is like, really? Is it really? But it kind of is. Breakfast is something we all should be eating. And I used to be a breakfast hater for sure. Like I didn't eat breakfast for years. I had an egg ick and I just thought breakfast foods were like boring and I didn't want to eat a bowl of cereal, so didn't eat it. But now I love breakfast. I go to bed at night looking forward to having breakfast in the morning. It sounds unreal, but it is. Today I'm excited because the star of the show is puff pastry. There's going to be 3 different ways to use the puff pastry and then 3 different kind of flavor combinations. Any of the flavors can go with any of the applications of the puff pastry. This is hopefully going to serve as like inspiration to encourage you to just have breakfast that you're excited about and that will fuel you through the day. I freaking love puff pastry because it is so easy. You just buy it at the store. This one happens to be one big roll of puff pastry, but I know some come already cut into rectangles. They sell one that comes in like a trifold. Whichever one you get, it probably won't matter. It's really just like one big roll. And it comes on parchment paper already. And I'm just going to use this one roll to show you all 3 ideas. So application number 1 of puff pastry is going to become a breakfast pizza. So once you've got the puff pastry cut to the size that you are looking to use today, you are going to need to roll it out a little bit. I don't really know why this is a thing, but rolling it out does help to make sure that it rises a little bit more. You don't want to make it super flat. You just want to flatten it out a little bit. And to go in the oven with the pizza version, I'm also going to get started on the second one, which is going to be little puff pastry cups. So I've got a ring mold here that I'm just going to use to punch out a couple circles. You can obviously just like cut it out with a knife and trace a bowl or a cup or something that you have. Then I'm going to use a muffin tin upside down and just lay the little circles that I have over top. Then pretty much anytime you're baking puff pastry, you're going to want to give it an egg wash so that way it gets this nice crispy golden brown outside. So I'm quickly whisking up an egg. So the little cups are going to get brushed all over with the egg, and the pizza I'm going to brush all over as well, but I'm also going to sprinkle some sesame seeds around like the outer 1-inch border to make a little bit of a crust. If you wanted to use everything bagel seasoning for this, that would be delicious as well. But I already know the toppings I'm going to put on this, and I think sesame seeds will be a better fit. I'm going to put both of these trays in the oven and let them bake until they're puffy and golden, which according to my package will be like 15 to 20 minutes. So while those are baking in the oven, I'm gonna get started on all the other components of breakfast, which is gonna be some bacon, some breakfast sausage, some eggs. And this step is totally optional. I do like to make my own breakfast sausage. I've tried all the frozen kinds, all the refrigerated kinds, and I just don't love them. So it's honestly worth it to me. That way you can also season it the way that you want. If you want to make like breakfast burritos, you can season it differently than if you're going to make like sausage, egg, and cheese, you know? So it kind of gives you a little bit more freedom and flexibility to have fun with your breakfast. But don't feel like you have to do this. You can definitely just use bacon or whatever breakfast sausage you really like. But I'll walk you through really quickly how I do it anyway. So I've got some ground turkey here. This is usually what I use as the base, just because it's like a good lean meat that I feel good about eating in the morning. But I also today happen to have some leftover Italian sausage from dinner, which will add a little extra flavor and some good fattiness in there. Ground turkey is pretty bland on its own, so I'm going to be sure to season this really well with a bunch of salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, rosemary. Use whatever seasonings you like, but make sure, especially if you're using ground turkey, that you season it pretty well. And just get in there with your hands and mix it really well until everything is nice and incorporated. And the other good thing about this is you can cook this up however you want. So I'm gonna do some of it more like ground meat in little crumbles, but I'm also gonna make a couple of patties for other breakfasts. And if you really want to be sure that this is going to taste good, you can just take a little tiny piece of it, fry it up, and then taste it. That way you don't end up cooking the whole like pound or more of meat and then thinking that it tastes really bad. And I'm also going to throw a couple of pieces of bacon on here for the other breakfast that we're going to make, just so there's some diversity. Don't freak out. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm going to go ahead and scramble a bunch of eggs. That is just my preferred preparation. I think the pizza is probably a good candidate for like a fried or sunny side up egg. If you're into that, like I said earlier, I had an egg ick for a very long time and I'm still not fully over the whole runny yolk kind of thing. I'm getting better at it, but if you like a runny yolk, go for it. If you ask me, the less cleaning I have to do, the better. So I'm just gonna use the same pan that I made the bacon and the sausage in to scrambled eggs. The pizza is ready to go and the crust is so light and crispy and I already know this is gonna be delicious. I'm gonna use pesto as the base for the pizza because that's what I have, but I've done this with red sauce and it's really good as well, but I've also done this before and I know it's really good. So I'm just making a little layer of pesto in the middle of this big old rectangle. And I'm gonna top this off with some scrambled egg. Some of the breakfast sausage I made earlier is going in there. And I also just put some cherry tomatoes on the pan behind me so that they would be a nice addition to this for a little bit of freshness and color. Now you could totally put some mozzarella on here, throw it in the oven and let that melt and make it more like a real pizza. But I'm just gonna grate some Parmesan on here because I think it'll add a nice saltiness and nuttiness, but it would be good in combination with mozzarella. This, by the way, if you don't have one of these, this is like my favorite kitchen tool. I don't even know why, but I do feel like it's life-changing, so just saying.
In my opinion, this is the perfect one to make for a weekend breakfast because it looks and tastes like such a treat, and just listen to this crunch. I actually can't believe that this is the one I decided to share first because it might be my favorite.
Now I'm gonna get started on assembling the little breakfast taco cups, and just a little warning, these baked a lot faster than the pizza and the toaster strudel did, so just be mindful of that and you might want to bake these for a little bit less, take them out of the oven sooner. So I'm just pushing the center in to make a little bit more room for filling since it did get so puffy. I'm just using some store-bought guacamole, which is totally fine. I don't think it's cheating, but if you want to use homemade, that would be amazing. But I'm gonna go ahead and put a little scoop of guac in the bottom of these, and I'm putting it in the bottom because I think it'll act a little bit like a glue and keep all the other toppings in there. Then I'm adding a little scoop of the homemade breakfast sausage I made into the cup as well. Then I'm gonna top these off with a little bit of scrambled egg and then put some salsa on them.
These make for such a good breakfast on the go. They're the perfect little bite size and they heat up so well in the air fryer and stay crispy.
Are these adorable or what? They actually look like little bird's nests, and I can just tell that all the bites are going to be so crispy and have the best texture. So we've prepared almost all of the things needed to make our puff pastry breakfast except for the last one, and that is going to be like a savory toaster strudel. I've got the perfect amount of puff pastry left from when we made the pizza and the cups. So the same as before, I'm just gonna gently roll this out, and I'm pretty much just gonna assemble a classic bacon, egg, and cheese, but use the puff pastry as a little pocket to hold it all in. I'm gonna fold this in half. So I'm just gonna leave all the filling to one side and make sure you leave a border, that way you can crimp it shut after. So we'll do a layer of bacon, then I've got some scrambled egg that's gonna go on top. Last step is to sprinkle some cheese on top. I have shredded cheese, but if you have like a square, that would be fine. So to close this up, I'm just gonna fold this in half. So I'm gonna take the side of the pastry that I didn't put anything on, pull it over the top of all the filling, and then I'm just gonna use a fork to crimp down the edges. And for consistency, I am going to pinch the other side down just so it looks the same, but you don't have to. And for this one on the top, I'm gonna sprinkle on some everything bagel seasoning, so that way there's a little crunch and a little extra flavor on the outside.
This one is so good because the way the dough is doubled up, you get so many crispy layers, and the everything bagel seasoning is so good here. This has another insane crunch and the filling is just so classic.
I think it would be fun if I silently tried all of them and then you guys had to guess which one is my favorite based on how I react. First up, the little taco cups. This is so weird and awkward. Maybe this was a bad idea. Next up, the little toaster strudel thing. Okay, and lastly, the pizza. It's hard to pick, actually. They're all so different, and that's what I think is so fun about this, and will hopefully make your breakfast a little more exciting moving forward, is that now you have 3 different applications of one product that you can get at the store, and these are 3 different flavor combinations that you can mix and match between all the different methods. So hopefully this gave you some inspiration to have more exciting breakfasts, and be sure to subscribe and stick around because I have other ideas for fun breakfast videos that they'll all be different, so you won't want to miss those. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see me again next time.